So the purpose of this video today is to go through some commonly asked referencing education sources that we get asked here in the library and how to reference them in APA 7th. So this video is going to include 4 different things. So we're going to go through a little APA 7th refresher. We're going to show you how to reference Australian curriculum, the National Approved Learning Frameworks, and 8 ways. So for Faculty of Education, we use APA 7th referencing style, and APA 7th referencing style has 2 elements that you need to include in your reference. So you have an in-text citation that uses author date, and then you have a reference list entry that will include all the details of the reference. And so that reference list needs to be double-spaced, and it also needs to include a hanging indent according to APA 7th rules. Now we have an APA 7th library guide, which I'll show you a little bit later in this video, and there'll be specific examples in there regarding both in-text citations and reference lists, plus all of the examples I'm talking about here today. One of the things we get asked a lot is group authors and abbreviations. We've just included an example here. Now, according to APA 7th rule, if you're referring to a group author that has an abbreviation, for the first citation, you need to include the full elements of the abbreviation. So for example, Animal Welfare League, and then in square brackets you put the abbreviation, so AWL. And then for any subsequent citations, you can then just refer to the abbreviated version, AWL. So the very first one we're going to have a look at is Australian curriculum. And so the resource type for Australian curriculum is a website. And so you can see the elements of the reference up the top here. So you need to include the author, the date, the title of the page, the website name if needed, and then the URL. I'll just mention that the website name is not needed if it's the same as the author. So if the author is the same as the website name, then you don't need to add the website name. We've also got a little bit more information here. So if the website has no date, we use n.d. for your reference. So this is an example of one of the live ACARA examples from Australian curriculum. We get asked a lot. And so what you need to do is fill in these details. So you can see here we've gone through and identified what elements are needed. So we've got the group author up the top here. So if you wanted to use that abbreviation, you could for this one. So you could do Australian Curriculum Assessment and Reporting Authority, and then in square brackets put ACARA. And then for any subsequent citations, you would just do ACARA. So the title of the page is here, so English Sequence of Content 5-6, F6, title of the page, and we've also got the date down the bottom here, so you can see that it's 2015. You'll also need to include the URL as well. So this one is National Approved Learning Framework, so a little bit different to the previous one. This is actually an organisational report format. It's very similar, but you can see it's slightly different formats. It's got title of the report here. And so I'm just going to show you a live example. So this is a live example that we get asked a fair bit. And so we've just gone through again and to identify what elements are needed. So for the group author, it's actually in the copyright section on this document. So it's Australian Government Department of Education is the group author of this one. And the title of this document is Belonging, Being and Becoming. But there's also a subtitle here, which is the Early Years Learning Framework for Australia. So you need to include both of those elements in the title. And then you can also see on the document we've got the date here, 2022. And so you've got the date, and then you just need to include that URL in there as well. For 8 ways, it's the same as the first, so it's a website format. And you can see that we've got, again, that no date example n.d. And so this one's a little bit trickier. So this one, the author is actually quite hidden. So it's in the section on this website called Our Team. And the author of this website is Western New South Wales Regional Aboriginal Education Team. And so, yeah, it's just in that Our Team section. Now I'm just going to pop out of here and I'm going to show you our APA 7th guide. And I just want you to know that all of those examples that we've just talked about are actually in our APA 7th guide. So once we're in the live guide, if you just come down on the left-hand side to Education Curriculum Resources, so the Australian Curriculum example is here. And then we also have the National Approved Learning Frameworks version in here as well. So you can have a look directly at these examples to get some more information. So you can see that there. We also have 8 ways, which is there's an example in websites. So if I scroll back down and go to websites and go to the example for website with no date, we have an example for 8 ways as well. So you can have a look at that one there. So just lastly, if you're still having trouble with this referencing, there's some support available to you. So you can obviously look at our referencing guides. If you haven't before, we have a library chat service, so you could pop on there and ask a specific referencing question. Please note we don't check your references for you, but we will try and point you in the right direction. And then if you're needing some more support, one-on-one support, you could book an appointment with a librarian to talk it through a little bit more one-on-one. Sometimes it's a little bit easier doing that, just depends on how you are personally. So make sure you access those support services if you aren't sure, and we'll try to help you as much as we can. Thank you.